Hello and welcome to this new beas Industry Solutions webinar. Today we will talk about our new release, beas 9.1 PL8, with many interesting possibilities for Industry 4.0. I'm Carlos Herrero, Vice President of beas Group, and part of the content we will see today has been provided by my colleague Martin Hagel, who is our CTO. We will start talking about our new Industry 4.0 data integration hub for CAD and PDM systems, but also machine process and energy data integration, SCADA, LIMS, and automated warehouse management systems. I will also show you part of the new possibilities we provide with the version and revision control, release, access and change management, engineering change control, and engineer change order. In the beas APS, Advanced Planning and Scheduling module, we will see the new possibilities to optimize the resources automatically and a new improved interface. And at the end, you will see a list of new extensions provided in this patch level 8. With our new beas Industry 4.0 data integration hub, it is easy to create connections for CAD PDM systems, and as I mentioned it before, machine process energy data, SCADA, LIMS, and automated warehouse management systems. We have created a new data import solution, really simple to use and of course affordable for small and medium enterprises. Many different possibilities regarding the format of the files, so in the format of the information we will manage, so we can use XML, but many other files as well. You can automatically import data from directories, databases, and more sources. You can also import different data areas in only one process. Example, to import in only one process, then bill of material of an item, but routing and then some information. It's different data, but in one unique process, then it could be imported. And field mapping with extended field descriptions. I will show you a first example by importing a bill of material from a CAD system. In this case, we can see here a metal part, and we will get the bill of material from it and of course import that in Business One and beas. We are here now in Business One and beas, and we see an Excel file with an ideal bill of material. It's only an example with some items, descriptions, materials, quantities, and so on. And this is what we will use to import. We see now a new import definition I've done to get our CAD file. We see here the result, but let's have a look at the definition I did. If we click in the fields, then we can do the mapping here, so selecting the item, the description, and some other values as well. In use on description, let's place 1 here. We don't have nothing. And then quantity and so on. Then we see here the result. If we go now to the bill of material, this is an example of an item without a bill of material, we have a new option which is import. If we click here, then in import, the system shows us the possibility to select different files from different directories, for example. Then we select file, which is the one we created before, the Excel file, but also here we select the CAD import definition we did. This is with the name I created before. And then I click in OK. And the system will ask if we should proceed with the process. So let's do it. Now I click in End. And then we go to the bill of material of the item, and then we see the complete data loaded. We can also use these to update values. For example, I will change here the quantity to 4, and if I go inside, then I will change the drawing number, my old drawing number. Okay, and if we click again, then in import, and the same values are there, click in yes, it's done. And then we see now the drawing number is updated, but also the quantity. Last but not least, it is important to mention that, of course, we can also automate the import process. So we can create a task to load the files and then make the import process. Let's see now another example. In this case, I will import a time receipt from an XML file. So this is interesting to simulate. We are collecting values directly, for example, from machine or third-party solutions. Here my colleague Martin have created an XML file as an example, and this is the one we will use to load the data. So we go here to our data import menu, and then here we have our definitions. Let's create a new one. This is with my ID. And then we select the type or the target. In this case is for the production time received. Let's select the file. In this case, our XML we saw before, which is this work time. And here we have the result of this, or the preview in this case. We see here the columns, so the information in the XML file. And if I click with the right button, then I have the possibility to set a short description automatically. Then we go to preview, and then the system shows us the information. Let's have a look at the fields to check the mapping. So then we see the work order number, and then we make the selection of the different fields. Once we do this definition, of course, this could be recorded, and later the process to import the data could be done automatically. Here we get the duration related with the time, and the last is to include the good quantity, which is here is the good quantity. Let's select then the quantity. You see how easy is then the mapping. Let's click in OK. Let's see the import preview. Then we see now the information from the XML file, so the values. The next we will do is to define our automatic import process. For this, the first we will do is to define a scan folder, and also to define a backup folder where we will put all the data we already processed. Now clicking with the right button of the mouse, then we go to Plan Activities. Then let's define our automatic import scenario. Put the name. And then we define it should happen every 5 seconds. We will do an import process. We will select the file from this specific folder where we have our import scan, which is the one we defined before. Then it should be all the files with this name and XML. And we should later move the file to a specific folder, which is, of course, the backup folder we have defined before. Here it is. And the import definition is this work time we also defined before. Okay, everything is already defined. So let's then go to our menu in Utilities, Manage Server. And here we can start the service we have defined. We can open it from here, or we can open the server locally. Let's go for the file we created. Let's put it in the correct folder, so then the system can take it automatically. So let's put that in scan. Now we see the system take it, and if we go now to the backup folder, then the file is there with a timestamp. Of course, the file was deleted from the previous folder, from the scan folder. If we see now in the work order, now we see the time received has been imported directly. So This is then one of the possibilities we provide to import data, in this case from an XML file. For version and revision control, we are able to define up to 3 different levels. We can have an item with a single version number control, so we can track which version have been used in the different orders, but then we can have bill of material and routing in this specific item. We are now also able to manage bill of materials and routing in an independent way. So in the item master data, we are able to call to a specific bill of material or to call to a specific routing. And we also provide the possibility to manage a extended version and revision control where you can manage independent bill of materials and routing per each version, and you can recall the different versions. You can add documentation and more per each one of the different versions. This is also related with new possibilities to release versions and access and change management, engineering change control, and engineering change order, which we will see now directly in the system. Let's have a look at the inventory menu in SAP Business One and beas. Then we go for item structure and we will search for our item B17272. If I expand this item, then you will see standard extractor where we see items in the bill of material and then of course the different operations. In this case, this is an item also with a subassembly, and then we see the structure of the subassembly. If we go to the master data screen of this production item, then we see a field called I version, and in this case we have the number 3. A very important field to consider is administration, this one here. The value I have, it's default. This is the single version control option here in beas, which means we can simply manage the number of the version and of course track it in the different work orders and more. If I click here, then you see the versions I have created for this item. I have a couple of prototype versions and then the production item. If I click in the arrow, then I can go to the version administration screen where we, in this case, are able to see, okay, this is what we define it for the version 3. There is, in this case, not a revision number. We can have a specific drawing number. The status, in this case, is released, but you see we are able to manage different status here. And if I click in this button, then we can define exactly what means each one of the status we can define here. Of course, you can define different by yourself. If I come back here, then you can also set, well, not only the status, but this is a version valid from a specific time. It has been released by this or this other user or locked in this time, and then some blockage reasons and more information. Of course, you can also attach documents. In this case, I have a PDF, for example, not only one, all those you need. And if I click here, then the system will show, well, in this case, the PDF I have added here. Okay. If I go back to the screen, then of course in this single version option, then you will administrate your bill of material in a standard way. Here you have the bill of material tab and then the routing, where we have added, for example, a few additional fields, for example, I version, because you can also see the version of those items you are using or you have included here in your bill of material. Coming back to the master data, let's close this screen because I will show you another item for a second option. In this case, this is a different item, and if I click here, then you don't see a full bill of material, you see then different versions with different bill of materials and routing. If I click, for example, in the prototype version, then you see I have included subassembly, but also another subassembly, and then at the end process, which is milling. But if I click in prototype version, then it is different in this case, and the last one then looks then like the one I will finally use. This is the case of separate bill of materials. If I go to the master data screen, then we see here in administration, in this case, we don't have default. Now we have separate bill of material. When we select separate bill of material, then we don't see anymore bill of material tab and routing tab. We see now item version. And if I click here, then I have additional possibilities, because now for each one of the versions we create and relate for this item, we will have the possibility to include a specific bill of material and a specific routing. And if I click now here, then you see a list of all the bill of materials available, in the same way all the routings available. And of course, if we click here, then we can navigate to the bill of material administration screen. This is something new. We have now a source data to manage all the bill of materials. If I come back here and move a little here to the menu, then now you see under inventory you have routing and then bill of materials. And if you click there, then you have the list of all the bill of materials, or in routing, then you have the list of all the routing. So you can then call to the different versions. Of course, each one of the versions will or could have a different bill of material and routing, and depending on the one you set here as the current one, then at the moment you create a work order, of course, the information will be transferred is the one stored in each one of the versions. I'm talking about the bill of material and routing. The last option is the extended view. Let's come back to the other item we saw before, this one. And we will switch now this one to, instead of default, we will go to extended view. And here in extended view, then if I click here in update, now we see again our iVersion field, which I can call to prototype, prototype version 2, and production item. And if I navigate through this, then we see the information regarding the version, of course, to include documents. But now the difference between the previous options have been we can keep the bill of material and routing. If I go to bill of material, I can define my bill of material like in previous versions in beas. But now you see a version range, iVersion from to, because now I'm able to say, well, for example, my metal pipe 250 is available in iVersion 1 to 3, or in the next item in 1 and 3, the next in 3, 1 to 3, 3, and exactly the same for routing. Let me go to the item structure and refresh the screen. And then we see the prototype 2 version and prototype 3. We will see why we are not having a look, or we can't see the version 1. And if I click here, then you can see the different bill of materials. So the system is searching in this bill of material tab and routing, which setting we did, and then show these combinations. Coming back to the item, let's have a look. If I click here, then I see the list, and if I click in this small option, then I can open the available versions for this item. The first one, which is prototype version, if I open this, then you see this has been locked. This is the reason by default we don't show that in the item structure screen. But of course, for the others, then this one is, for example, could be released as well. And this one you see is released, and then we can set here valid and so some others. Let's go to the bill of material. Here in the bill of material, if I do double click in each one of the lines, then we see we have an extended tab in the bill of material for this specific item. And from here I say, well, this is, first of all, this item is available from or and to on a specific date. Some other settings regarding the transactions we can do. And here in the version, if I click here, then the system show me the different versions we have, and I have selected, well, this item of course has been available for the prototype version, the 1, and then the 2, and then the 3. If I go for, let's go to the subassembly. The subassembly is something we added later to the structure of the item, so in the final version. And then we see here, this is available only in version 3. So this is the way we define here how can we include in one or other version one or other material. The same happen in routing. If I go now to routing and I go to, for example, welding for metal, we have an extended tab in the operation details. And from here again, we can select the iVersion range. And in this case, I have selected, well, this is available for version 2 and version 3. So those are the new possibilities we provide with version control. Let's have a look at some relations related with this version and revision control. If I click now with the right button, then you see we have a few new possibilities for editing our item. And one is, for example, calculation. I would like to know what is for example, the planned cost for my item if I'm dealing with version 3, but what about if I deal with version 2? And then, for example, I can click here in Start, and then the system show me the structure of my item with those related costs because of the materials and because of the different operation. And at the end, based on my cost structure, then the system will give me the cost of sales and the net price and more. If I now select the version 3 and click here again, then now we see the structure of the new version with all the materials and operations and the full details at the end. If we go to the structure of the item and double clicking prototype, for example, so in each one of the versions, then we navigate directly to the version administration. Another interesting feature is by clicking here with the right button again, we see in the top a few additional options. If I click in the second one, we can also see, for example, the bill of material list of differences. If I click here, then I can select, let's say, our same item here. But I would like to compare the version 2 with the version 3. And then I click here to start. And then the system shows where are the differences, of course, because the subassembly is not here or one or the other item as well. How does it look in the work orders? If I go to work orders, let's go to production and then to work order. I have created a work order because of a sales order. And if I do double click here, we can see, well, this is the work order related with our customer Shaker Corporation. And then I have a few positions because I will produce the finished item and also a subassembly, make to order subassembly. We see here the version we are using. If I go to the details of the position in my work order, then we see, of course, the version we are using, but we can access from here to information related with this version. When we use the single version control, of course, we will see as well here in the order which version are we using for each one of the different components. In the same way, when we use the separate bill of materials and routing in the item. In the meantime, I already did a transaction. Let's have a look at some additional details we can see in the work order. If we click here, then we see there is already a good receipt. Okay, this is only an example, and it is to show you if we go to the good receipt we create in Business One when the last operation, for example, happened, then you can also see which version has been used to generate this good receipt. Regarding our new advanced planning and scheduling extensions, now we have the possibility to automate the resources depending on definitions we do at the level of item routing. We have now a new graphic interface for the Gantt diagram in APS, and it is based on the HANA Fiori style. To show you the new features in APS, I will first show you the item I will use to present the optimization process. It is called film So this is a quite simple structure where we see a few materials in the bill of material. One operation is called extrusion and packaging. In the extrusion operation, then you see there is a main resource, which is extruder 01, but I also have extruder 02, 3, and injection as an alternative resources. What is new in APS is the system is able to select the available resources automatically, and the source will be this list we defined here. If I go to the operation details and then I go to alternative, then we see here again the list of the resources, and very important, there is a field called optimization, which is used to let the system know which resources could be considered for the optimization or for the automatic selection of the next available resource. So let's close this screen and let's go to sales order, because I've created not only one but two sales orders. I've created first the 568 for paramet technology, this material or this or our item, 300 units to be delivered on 29. But I have created a second sales order for A Sharecare Corporation, same day, same item, same quantity. Of course, because I would like to show you a bottleneck in the production and then how the system will balance the situation of our resources automatically. In both cases, I'm coming back to the first one. If I click with the right button, then we will create a work order. Just created the first one. If I click again, then we can see the work order 534. And let's go to the second one. If I click with the right button, let's do it as well. So now we have work order 534 for the previous order and 535 for this one. Okay. Let me close here and let's go to production, to work order, and then we see both orders we have created. So this is then the two work orders. If I click with the right button in the operation to see what is the graphical situation of my resource, then of course I can see this is overloaded. On Wednesday 27, this machine is busy 142 of the capacity, and on Thursday 121. Of course, with APS, we will balance this and selecting automatically another resource. So let's close this screen and let's go to APS. And here in capacity planning APS, let's click in view. And in this screen, we can see the list of the active work orders. I have only those two work orders now. If I go to the gun before do any calculation, let me extend the view a little, for example, from here to, yeah, this is fine. So then this yellow line means right now, we see the weekend is in the middle, and then the order is starting on Wednesday to finish on Thursday. When we create the work order from the sales order, the system do a backward calculation considering the cycle time, so the time is defined in the operation, but of course it's not considering definite capacity. This is the reason if I click here, then we see the resource is out of capacity. So we are this gray line means the limit is defined for the resource. What I will do then is to run, for example, a new backward calculation, but from APS, and then we will see how the system will keep the extruder 01 for the first order, because, for example, the priority is higher here. And then for the second one, instead of to move it because extruder 01 is busy, then we will go for the next resource, which is extruder 02, to assign it to this specific work order. So let's close this here and let's go to APS. Of course, how the system knows to which work order assign which resource. The first one in the list is the one will take all the available resources. It's the first option for the system. But you can create a sequence here, not only based on the number of the work order, you can create a sequence based on priorities, and also you can include here your own algorithm to make your sequence, and manually as well by dragging here the different lines. So let's, in this case, select a backward calculation. Let's click in Calculate. And we see here the start time and the end time keeps in the same time. This is of course because the system optimized or selected the next resources instead of to move the order. If I go to the Gantt, now I see the first work order is still using the extruder 01, and the second order is then using the extruder 02. If I click here, now you see the extruder 01 is not overloaded anymore, and also not the extruder 02, because now we switch to that one as part of this optimization process. The other new feature we have is simply the view. Now we see, let me select, for example, here a bigger time table, time horizon. The other new feature we provide is then the interface of the Gantt itself. We are here considering the Hannah Fiorier style, and now it is fully inside SAP Business One interface. So it's not an additional screen that is popping up to show you the Gantt. Here is a list of other extensions we did in our PL8, which of course you can read in our support portal. I would like to thank you for your interest. I hope you found this new webinar useful. For more information, please visit us at beasgroup.com.